All right, now 8:37. We've been tracking the area of strong thunderstorms out in the Gulf of Mexico. I've been talking about the rotational element on it, and this now has prompted a tornado warning for extreme northern Pinellas and southwestern Pasco County. So let's let you know what's happening here. We do have rotation taking place in the Gulf of Mexico. Pretty good signature of it with a water spout there, and there's been a larger area, an expanding area of some stronger wind here within this particular area. So we're going to get zoomed into you right in here. This red box that you see, that is the area that is under the warning, and we're talking about extreme northern Pinellas around Tarpon Springs over toward the northwestern part of Pinellas, northeastern part of Pinellas, on up toward Trinity, back toward Holiday, Elfers, New Port Richey, and Port Richey. This is where the tornadic part of the storm is at this time. In fact, what we'll do is we'll take a look at that utilizing the velocity here, and there's a pretty good signature, actually a really good signature showing up right in here as it's moving toward the east-northeast rather quickly at this time. So let's put a storm track on this area here. I'll do a manual one, and this is moving east-northeast at about 35 miles per hour. So I'll go from the most intense part of the storm toward, let's do that again, toward the east-northeast at 35 miles per hour, right in here, east-northeast at 35 miles per hour. Actually, we'll just click on this, show you some of the locations. We're talking Holiday, 12 minutes, New Port Richey, 14, Seven Springs at 18 minutes, Hudson now in 20 minutes as that moves toward the east-northeast at this time. Again, tornado warning goes until 9:15 for this particular area. If we could close out on that area, move that out of the way, and show you what's happening in this area. Again, here is where we have the worst of the weather, right still offshore. So if you are in southwest Pasco, you have some rain coming in, you have some gusty wind, but the tornadic part of the storm is still offshore. But we have a lot of areas with winds that have been up close to 50 miles per hour here in this particular area, and that continues to move very quickly toward the east-northeast at this time. Let's get back over to the radar view, or what we typically see here on Clystra 9 as this is moving toward the east-northeast at this time. Let's get the warning box off so you can just see what's happening. I'll put the time lapse on this area here as well, and we can see the movement quickly toward the east-northeast. So Palm Harbor looks like you'll be just south of where the strongest part of the storm will come in, even though you've had some pretty rough weather at this point. Again, this is moving over toward the Tarpon Springs, Holiday area. That's where the zone would be, perhaps up toward Elfers, and if it holds together as it comes on shore, we're talking about Trinity as well. And as we look here at the time lapse of the reflectivity here on radar, what I'm noticing is a little spin showing up right in here, a little mesocyclone going on right in here. This is Anclote Key, by the way, and that is heading right for that, continuing to move in that general direction. So it actually looks like the heaviest part of this, or the strongest part, might actually miss you just to the north of Tarpon Springs, but you're definitely in the line for that potential, as is Holiday and Elfers, anywhere up and down here, Alt 19 and US 19, northern Pinellas, and into western sections of Pasco County at this time. Let's take a look outside. We'll go over to our camera in Tarpon Springs right now, and this is the view. We're looking out toward the northwest, so it's really hard to see because we have the rain going on. But if you look really closely, kind of go through some of these raindrops on the camera lens, I'm seeing the low clouds moving pretty briskly from southwest to northeast, or south-southwest to north-northeast. That low-level flow is really strong as it moves in that direction, so you definitely want to just be aware of that setup that is in place for this particular storm. So to recap, we have a tornado warning that goes until 9:15 for northern Pinellas and southwest Pasco. I'll put that zone back on again so you can see the box right in here, this red outline. That is where we have that tornado warning. What we're looking at is we've been tracking an area of rotation out in the Gulf of Mexico. I've been watching this thing for the better part of about an hour and a half to 2 hours from earlier this morning, way out in the Gulf, heading toward the northeast, and it continues to march on. It maintains its signature. I'll show you that here as we look at the wind, and I'll turn the box off here so we can see what's happening. Right in here, this brighter red that you see, we also have right on the leading edge of it, because there's a couple of things going on here. A little jet stream energy coming in to kind of push things out, and we've noticed a lot of stronger wind here just out ahead of that area. I'll get a little bit closer, show you what's happening here. Right on the edge here of southwest Pasco County. We'll look at some of the winds that are in place here. 48 miles per hour, 45 miles per hour, 47, 45. So we are looking at 40 to 50 mile an hour winds in this area, and there had been a signature of rotation, and we can still see that here as it moves toward the northeast at this time very, very quickly. What I'm actually going to do is I'll widen the view a little bit. We'll get a little bit closer to this spot because I really want to put a storm tracker on this here for you. Moving toward the northeast, we'll get rid of some of those numbers. And here is the storm track, and right around Anclote Key toward the northeast at 35 miles per hour. There we go. We're going to put it in the Newport Richey area in 10 minutes. Moon Lake Estates in 20, and should it hold together, we'll get all the way toward Shady Hills in about 29 minutes as it moves out toward the northeast. Now, what we do with our storm tracks, you notice here it's a little bit wider on the end. That's to account for a little bit of uncertainty as to the exact path as to where it is going. But if it maintains its header, it would stay right along this line. But some of these communities just to the north and south of that line are still in harm's way with that particular storm. Anywhere here from Holiday over toward the Trinity area, we want to keep an eye out for you as that is moving in toward the east-northeast at this time. Let's get a little bit closer, show you who's under the gun here. We're looking at Elfers. This is 54 now. This is Trinity, Little Road in this area. This is US 19. This is where Alt 19 comes into US 19, and this is the area now that is getting some very heavy wind or strong wind as this area moves toward the northeast. So if you're just tuning in, you were sitting around in southwest Pasco and the weather started to turn pretty bad for you, you are under a tornado warning until 9:15. There is an indication here on Klystron 9 of some circulation. The signature is not quite as well defined as it was just a short time ago, but it is still something that has been well defined for quite a while as it's moving toward the east-northeast at about 40 miles per hour now. Again, we're looking at some stronger wind in this area. I could plot some of these winds here using the data right from Klystron 9, and it is moving quickly. So we're talking, again, we're at 51 miles per hour there, at 51 again, just to the west of US 19 at this time, moving east-northeast. So anywhere up and down US 19 from the Pinellas-Pasco border to Newport Richey, perhaps Port Richey, as there's just a little bit more of a north rather than east component to this movement. You are under the gun for some of these stronger winds. At this point, it would be too late to tie stuff down. You might have some Christmas ornaments or decorations, rather, that may be affected by this as it comes on in. That is definitely something that you want to be aware of. And again, this time of year, those are the kinds of things, especially the decorations that you might have in your yard. Those can get tossed around a little bit. So that is something that is sort of a new hazard for this time of year when we have this type of weather coming in. A lot of times people do a good job preparing their patio furniture, other things like that, but we have a lot of loose things in the yards right now that could get tossed around. So just be aware of that possibility in these areas here with this moving toward the east-northeast. All right, let's widen the view, get rid of some of that data, and I'll put the traditional look at Klystron 9 back on here for you, and I'll put the time lapse on it as well. And we can see a lot of us are looking at some of the heavy rain right now from Citrus. You've been looking at some rain for quite some time. You didn't really get the storms into Hernando and Pasco. And again, this is the spot right in here where we have some pretty intense weather at the moment. Now, right around Tampa Bay, we have, again, some other areas of some heavy rain that are coming in as well. So we're looking right at Tampa. The rain has been filling in and picking up over Tampa Bay, heading right toward downtown. And we've got a look for you now. We'll go over to Tampa International Airport, our view there. This is brought to you by Fear Now Insurance. There's Raymond James Stadium. If you're thinking about the Bucs game today, this will be passed before the game occurs. In fact, a little bit earlier than what I thought yesterday morning, so you might even be able to get some tailgating in by about 10, 11 o'clock, or certainly 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock. There might still be some showers out there, but the threat for storms will be gone by then. Lots of low clouds are in place. Let's go back over to Tarpon Springs to show you what's happening here. And things have turned much worse here. We are seeing some very windy conditions with the rain that is coming in very, very heavily at this point. Just covering this is the Tarpon Springs Golf Course here, and we are looking again at some strong gusty wind in this area. Northern Pinellas, southwest Pasco, where you are under tornado warning for about another half hour. This storm is moving rather quickly. Now, each individual location will not see a tornado for a half hour. The warning covers an area, and that will be moving from southwest to northeast. Let's get back over to that spot And I'll put the warning back on so you can see it will stop the time lapse. And it is in this area right in here where we have this red box that is in place. So Southwest Pasco, this looks like most of it would be west from the Suncoast Parkway westward over toward the coast. That's about where the end line is, and generally south of Highway 52 is where we have the worst of the weather. Let's get back in a few minutes, have passed since I last showed you some of these close-in areas in southwest Pasco County. I'll turn the box off again so we can get a better look at what's happening, and we'll go back over to